Hey guys, it's Aaron Respect. Doom has recently released a launch trailer. If you haven't seen it, I suggest you go check it out. It's awesome. In the video, we see two enemies. The first one looks to be the Arc Vial. It has these weird square horns and wings. Before we get to the second monster, we notice the gargoyle looking thing that you can see it has wings, which makes us believe it is the Arc Vial in flight, or a completely new monster, who knows. Now the second monster we see is in fact the Spider Mastermind. We don't see much of it, but it looks huge and can't wait to fight against it. It's not a new monster, but we see the Cyber Demon doing this strange thing where he throws blades of fire towards you, so that's just one example of the new mechanics this game has to offer. We have some preload information. If you buy the game digitally, right now you can preload on the Xbox One, but for PC and PlayStation, you have to wait until 12 a.m. Eastern Time, or if you're on PlayStation, it's 12 a.m. local time for non-North Americans. The preload starts May 11th. I suggest you have at least 50 to 55 gigs of space on all platforms, so make sure even if you aren't preloading, have that space when the game releases, so you're not stuck there deciding which game to delete and get room. Before we go on all the single player concept art stuff, the top two PC quality settings are called Nightmare and Ultra Nightmare. We have a bunch of single player concept art with thoughts from the original artist that was in an article. The link to that will be in the description. It is concept art, but some of the places could be spoilers. Mars Vistas. This image was made to start exploring the Mars vista surrounding the UAC facilities. The idea was that the landscape has been decimated by time. Lakes and oceans have disappeared, leaving behind layers of rock that have been sculpted and deformed by constant wind. The odd colors of the setting sun are to give the player a sense of unease and that something's not quite right with this world. Hell's Vistas. Visualizing something as abstract as hell is very difficult. Everyone and every culture has their own version of it. Here, hell is a fractured world where pieces of other worlds and dimensions are torn apart to have their energies and souls absorbed, leaving behind only a hollow shell of once a great civilization. The color palette was based on the classic Hell theme of fire and brimstone. Resource operations. The look of resource operations is partially influenced by modern oil rigs. We wanted to hint at the idea that the mining operation on Mars is huge, that there's a large network of these type of platforms where workers essentially work and live entirely subterranean lives. Resource operations enclosure. This is a narrow view into the part of the larger resource operations facility because we're making a game with elaborate sci-fi environments. Every square foot of space needs to be visually designed. We did hundreds of shots like these. A concept was made for nearly every room and hallway in the game. Lazarus. In our fiction, Lazarus thematically represents the intersection point between science and mysticism. The point where UAC scientists discover hell and inevitably become corrupted by its influence in terms of player progression. The architecture of Lazarus was originally designed as a vertical descent, progressively leading the player downwards towards the hell portal at the base of the facility. Argent interior. This is an early concept for the interior of the Argent Tower. The tower serves as one of the UAC key experiments into the interdimensional research and exploration. Vortex. It was challenging to come up with a giant portal design that didn't look like every other interdimensional giant portal in pop culture, but I think we ended up with one that felt pretty fresh. Hell. This was an early exploration for the necropolis, which was described to me as a cavernous ruin with a bottomless pit and precarious walkways, which were inspired by the precarious mountain paths of Tianmen Mountain. I added a giant demon skull as the centerpiece as a throwback to the icon Ascent. It stuck all the way to the end of production. Resource operations exterior. This concept was to help establish the exterior architectural theme and lighting of the resource ops. The idea here was to make the first view the player had upon entering this area a sweet vista and a view of their goal. In this case, their intended goal was the tower you can see through the V-shaped support. Lazarus surgery. This was an early take on a room in Lazarus where you can find evidence of the UAC experimenting on an unfortunate mancubus. In rooms like these, we would also see the early steps that the UAC was taking to make cyber versions of various demons. You can find a room similar to this in the final game, Surgery Bot included. Just had to add a little note here. In the launch trailer, we do see a robot. We don't know who he is. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and say he's a surgery bot. Lazarus exterior. This was an early pass on the facility that ultimately became Lazarus. In this instance, it was a hidden volcanic crater. It would only become visible once you made your way over the crater's edge before entering the level. This was also an early pass on what the cleaner, scientific building style would look like from an exterior view. Hell Bridge. This is a color and lighting pass over game geometry to establish the mood of hell. Prior to this, a few early mood paintings were done with color palettes inspired by the work of somebody who I'm not even going to try to pronounce. This particular image was done of a dozen passes with subtle variations. The goal was to give a player an uncomfortable and unpleasant sense about the place, unpleasant to the point where you can almost smell the sulfur as you enter the level. Lazarus. This is a sci-fi controlled room based in Lazarus. In this concept, I used some of my favorite sci-fi films as inspiration. It was the first sci-fi room I did and I very much enjoyed it. Bloodkeep 2. This piece was also inspired by some of the oppressive shapes. The goal for this was to create a tomb or temple inspired environment. With the red atmosphere and oppressive round pillars, it made this part of the level very recognizable. Bloodkeep 3. After doing some iteration on this level, a keyword became apparent: oppressive. With tilted pillars, blood and guts for ground cover, and some opaque atmosphere, it became very oppressive. That's all the concept art in the article. Show the art team some love. We are a week away from Doom, so we are launching a Steam community group that anyone can join, so feel free to do so, even if you play Doom on PlayStation or the Xbox. Along with that, we have a Discord channel that you guys can come in and hang out, chat with other members, etc. We're still working out all the kinks on both of these, so if you have any suggestions, let us know. That's it for the video. Thank you guys for 500 Twitter followers. We really appreciate it. Let us know in the comments, what do you think of the new Arc Vial look, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on Twitter @DoomUp.